Okay, good evening, everyone.
Great to finally be able to get together again. Oh,
My name is Bernard Bowen. I'm the Vice President here at IAABO Board 42. This is a Board 42 mandatory interpretation meeting. We are starting exactly at 7:01. Right now, we'd like to introduce ourselves or say hello to our President, Mike Howard. Mike Howard, would you come on and say a few words?
Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the IAABO Board 42 interpretation meeting. As it appears that we're getting closer to normalcy, we're still a long way away. Okay, we have to continue to be patient that we get to normalcy, but it's still a long way away. I want to start out by talking about the IAABO Fall Seminar, which was held October 1st to the 3rd in Trumbull, Connecticut. It was well prepared and well received. There were a number of presentations by different board members that centered around traveling, sportsmanship, block charge, screening, pressing, transitioning from lead to trail, trail to lead, and very important, which I found was a good presentation on being a good partner. These seminars are held twice a year, and I strongly recommend your participation. It's open to all board members. Board 42, we've had good representation at this meeting 2 weeks ago, but I truly encourage other people to participate in these meetings. And you'll see it's more about just putting on a black and white shirt, blowing a whistle, and making a couple of dollars. We were able to participate in the New York State Board meeting as well. And through that meeting, I know the Federation Championship was scheduled to be held here in New York City at Fordham University. Unfortunately, right now it's pending to be held in Glens Falls. So with that being said, we truly welcome your participation, and let's get this ball rolling. Bernard, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much. Can everyone please be professional enough and respectful enough to please put your phone or device on mute? It'd be very much appreciated. Others are listening and would like to hear exactly what's going on. I have a special guest tonight that has been a big motivator for Northeast referees, a personal friend. We built a big relationship. We've been working very hard behind the scenes to help a lot of the Northeast officials, especially here at Board 42, to get exposure and experience in the different venues. With that being said, Al Batista is here as our special guest as an interpreter. And at this time, I'm going to have the engineer take it over and read all the accolades that Al Batista brings to the table this evening for this interpretation. So Ralph, would you go ahead and take that? You're on mute.
Personal loan, there's no credit check. What would you do with one?
Good evening, everyone. Really happy that everyone's on this call. As I'm doing the background, just want to reiterate, make sure that everyone stays on mute at all times, and please just leave your name just so you get participation credit for this mandatory meeting. We would like to, and we're honored to be joined by the presence of Al Batista, somebody that has been a champion of the officiating community for many, many years. On top of the things that he's doing now, since 1977, he's been a member of IAABO Board number 12. He's also been an interpreter.
You smoked with him? You smoked?
20.
Oh.
I told him that shit was strong as hell.
Excuse me, Rick. Rick, thank you.
I got him. Also, he was also the interpreter of Board 23 from the years 1988 to 1992. Also served in the same capacity in Board 215 from the years 1991 to 2013. He's also served as the head training of the WVIAC Mountain East NAIA Division II from the years 1991 to 2015. Also served at the same capacity for the Capital Athletic Conference from 1991 to 2016. Also just professionally, he's also worked as an official in the IAC Mountain East Tourney from 1991 to 2015. Also the Capital Athletic Conference Tournament in 1991 through 2014. He's also worked 10 years at the Division III level in those tournaments. Also worked in the ECAC tournament games and also worked Division I basketball in the MEAC for 26 years and the Big South for 12 years. He's been heavily involved in the NBA as an observer for 11 years, and of course the WNBA as an observer for 9 years. And currently, aside from joining us tonight, he is the Maryland State basketball rules interpreter, and he's also currently the head of NBA scouting of potential officials on the East Coast for the NBA referee operations. We're so thankful to have him tonight. Without further ado, Al Batista, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Bernard, Ralph. It's good to see everybody. It's good to be here with Board 42. And Ralph,
Harry, can you help me with this?
Yes, I have.
I'm on a Zoom call. Can you help me?
Ralph, we're going to go over the new rule changes. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yes.
I have the presentation that you sent me. So
Yeah.
whenever you're ready.
Okay, so we can skip all this till we get to the first part. And everybody, what I usually do when I go over a new rule changes, I give a lot of teaching points. We just don't talk about the rule change. So you can go to the next one, Ralph. This, okay, and the next one, and the next one. Yeah, here we go. Okay, first change basically for National Fed. I know New York State plays with it, and I know the state of Maryland plays with it where I'm at, and some other states play with it, but the shot clock's basically going to come in in 22, 23, but a state does not have to play with it. So let's go to the first slide. Okay, so I'm not going to read all that, but the shot clock rule, okay, you can see it there. The shot clock, it has to be a visible shot clock. If you don't have one, if they don't have it, each state will probably come up with something. But the try or tap has to leave the shooter's hand before the expiration of time and subsequently strike the basket or enter the basket before or after the shot clock period is ended. Okay, we have all that. But the major thing when you're dealing with clocks, okay, when you go from trill to lead, let's talk 3-person, 2-person. When you go from trill to lead, you got to pick up your clocks. When you go from lead to trill, you have to pick up your clocks. When you go from C to C, you have to pick up your clocks. Now, there's a little bit more to this because we can go to the next slide. So, and the next one. So we're playing with the 35-second clock. Now, in high school basketball, we know we do not have replay, okay? So it's very important that we're cognizant with our clock and we know our clock differentials. For example, we know the quarter starts at 8 minutes, okay? When we get to 7:25 and that player hasn't released the ball and the shot clock horn hasn't gone off, someone on the crew's got to get shot clock violation, okay? Try hasn't been released. We're at 7:25. So that's where I'm going with this. You always have to check your clocks when you're rotating in the lead position. Do you check your clock at the other end, your shot clock? Okay, you start getting that habit. When you go from trill to C, do you take a peek at your clock? So you want to start getting in that habit every single time. Every time you blow your whistle, find your clocks. A good drill is there's a shot, go in a gym, and if you can get the clocks up, fine, but go in a gym and put yourself in the trill and go shot, release, okay, ball secured, find my clocks, okay, it's 7:25, 35, and then go. And just constantly do that and do that and do that. If you're watching television, basketball game, a great drill to do is every time the whistle's blown, just find your clock on the screen. Every time you're watching tape, go to what the clock's set at and the shot clock, because you see, shot clock is a game management rule, because every rule has a theme. This is a game management rule. It's an awareness rule. And if you know your clocks and you know what's going on with your clocks, you're just getting credibility with the coaches, the players, and the fans. They go, wow, this official really knows what they're doing. But if you don't have that, then that's how you get into trouble. And you have to be really aware of this. Give you an example. First year I was a state interpreter at our Maryland State tournament. We had 45 errors on clocks, okay? And we only got 44 were missed. Because no one was really, they weren't used to just getting their clocks. Now in the state, hardly anyone misses clock scenarios, okay? And when you do it, when you have to correct it, you know, a differential, just blow the whistle and tell the time or the shot clock operator or the timer, if it's a clock mistake, and just say, please put, you know, how much is on the clock, okay? And the differentials can help you a lot too, because if you know, oh, the shot clock started at 35 and the clock still is at 7:25 and we're at 15 on the shot clock, you just do the math and you really look good. And there's other ways to do it as well. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, head coverings for religious reasons should not be made of abrasive or hard materials and must fit securely so they are highly unlikely to come off play. And the only thing I want to talk about with that is when you go on the court, okay, make sure that you're aware of the equipment the players are playing with, okay? And if they have anything illegal, you know, just be aware of that. You know, start your awareness, start getting ready for that as you come onto the floor. Okay, and if there's a concern, just go to your local commissioner or your state rules interpreter and just be aware of it. But that is important as well. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, here's an example. Players may wear religious head coverings. Okay, there's an example. It's perfectly legal. Okay. I know in the state of Maryland, if we're not sure of the safety, right away, we don't get involved. We let our commissioner know, and then could be dangerous to somebody. So again, it's game awareness. When you come on the floor, you have to be aware.
Excuse me,
Let's go to
Al.
the next one.
Can everybody please put your phone on mute, please?
I said, I was telling you, I'm meeting Chris in the basement for his birthday, huh?
Okay.
Go ahead, Al. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So let's go to the next one. All right. Head decorations and headwear, except those specified above, are prohibited. Okay. State associations on an individual basis permit certain head coverings if it meets the following. All right. So again, I'm not going to go over. I'm just not going to read everything that's there, but when it deals with stuff like this, you just have to be really aware of what's going on. And when you get on the floor, it's just very important. But if you're not, again, if you're not sure, okay, just report it to your commissioner. But again, this is game awareness. When you're dealing with equipment, it's a game awareness and so on. Okay, let's go to the next one. A player who needs to wear a head covering for medical or cosmetics reasons is still required to have a letter of permission from their state association. All right, and each state does it differently. You know, and the state of Maryland, something will come to my office.
I don't have anything.
And then we'll just go from there. Okay, but again, when you get on that, when you come on the court, you're looking for equipment. What other things would you be looking for? You'd be looking at for the 3-point line. You're looking for 3-point shooters. What type of backboard? You know, the width of the floor, because you're just getting a feel for that game for that night. Okay, let's go to the next one. All right. This year, there's a new signal for team control foul. And if you could just see me, a team control foul and a player control foul, first thing, stop your clock with the fist. Go behind your head for a player control foul and a team control foul, and then point. So stop clock, behind head, and then point. Do not give a punch signal, okay? If you do, you do, but try to get out of that habit. Remember, you got to stop the clock. In the amateur game, the federation game, what stops the clock is a signal. Okay, by rule, it's a signal. It's not the whistle, even though technically the whistle does. But it's the signal, okay? So those are now synonymous, those signals, and practice your signals in a mirror. Have someone videotape you with signals, and make sure on player control fouls, you stop the clock, go behind your head and point. Now let's talk about block charge plays, okay? Number one, when you're in the lead, okay, referee defender to defender. So once A1 beats B1, go to B2 or B3. Get to your secondary defender as quick as possible. Lift your eyes, okay? And just because someone gets hit in the chest, that doesn't mean it's automatically a charge. If you don't see that defender, you're gonna probably go charge every single time because you're just refereeing contact, okay? When A1 beats B1, you gotta go to B2 or B3, okay? Also on drives to the basket, you got to referee 70% defense and 30% offense. You got to get in that habit. You do this first of all by tape study and tape drills. Okay. Also, player control fouls. If you're ever stacked or straight line move to get your angle, when you're in the lead position. Long time ago, they used to say, get back and get depth. Can't do that in today's game. You'll never be able to officiate secondary defenders, believe me. Get wide and see, you're not looking up there now, but see if you can see the front of the rim. If you can see, you're not looking up there. Certain scenarios you might have to, but see if you can see the front of it. That means you're in the right position. I'm not talking about a close down, I'm just talking about a regular setup, especially when the ball's on the wing. Okay, and these players are going to come at you. In the lead, to get block charge plays right, get on your back foot. Do not get in a neutral stance or on your front foot. You will anticipate and you'll miss calls. If you stay on your back foot, you'll be able to let play start, develop, finish. You'll be able to see the defender. You'll be able to process. Because you see, the lead position is the anxiety position. It's the process position, okay? So I'm just talking about the lead right now because most officials don't have problems in the trill in the center, but the majority of amateur officials that I see have problems in the lead. They go, well, I work Division I. Yep, you still have problems in the lead. Really? Yeah, because we never talk about the lead position in amateur basketball. We don't. And this is where a lot of these block charges are going to come from, okay? Team control fouls. Team control fouls, the majority of the ones that usually happen are ones, okay?
Everything that is going on in your ministry that should be going on. Now, it comes, and I say
So when you have team control fouls, a lot of them are with illegal screens, and illegal screens, just remember everybody, when you're refereeing screens, just don't think of it this way. You're refereeing a 3-on-3 game or a 2-on-2 game or a 1-on-1 game. You're not refereeing a 5-on-5 game. Does that make sense? And where you're refereeing that screen is either going to be a 2-on-2 game, a 3-on-3 game, or a 1-on-1 game. And then you'll be able to get the legality of the screen. But if you just referee, like with tunnel vision, you're going to have a tough time picking up illegal screens or illegal screens. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But remember, player control fouls and team control fouls, I know we know this. We never shoot them, okay? They are team fouls because all fouls in National Fed are team fouls, and we take the ball to the spot of the foul. The spot of the foul. Very, very important to take that ball at the spot of the foul. In fact, that's missed a lot. So I would review rules 7.4 and 7.5. Okay, all right, in your rule book. Let's go to the next one. So the one to the right, the punch signal, okay, that is no longer, the punch is no longer, we don't do that anymore. We just stop the clock and hand behind the head. Remember, stop the clock, because if you have a double whistle and you don't stop the clock and your partner calls block, which could happen, then what are you going to do? Well, then you got to know how to adjudicate that. In the Federation game, that would be a double foul. And in that scenario, we would have to go to the point of interruption. And you have to talk about that in pregame. So plays that are going to the basket, let the lead take those. If they don't make the call and you're the trill, the center, or in a two-person scenario, they're trill, when do you come? It's got to be a strike right down the middle. You're not going on the corners. Strike that right down the middle. You come and get, you stop your clock, hand behind your head, or it could be a block. You stop your clock and you give the block signal. But it's got to be a strike right down the middle, and it should be a cadence whistle. It shouldn't be a double whistle. So try to avoid double whistles if you can. And if you have double whistles, don't get excited. Just say, okay, I have to work on my patience out here. All right. So just remember, when you go into someone's secondary, okay, it has to be a strike right down the middle. And since we're on this, we might as well talk about flopping. Okay, floppers, they usually sit down. They usually have astronics with them, like, oh, and whatever. Okay. And a lot of times floppers will trip offenders or whatever, and it's a block. But remember, you have to see the whole play, okay? And don't get excited on player control fouls. Just stop your clock, hand behind the head, and point. But the key is not so much getting excited. The key is to referee defender to defender, defender to defender. Don't referee offender, defender, offender, defender. You might be able to get away with it, but if you really want to move in this craft, eventually you won't be able to move because the plays are going to come too fast at you. Okay, let's go to the next one. All right, next. That's just some info. I'll send that to Bernard. Next one. Okay, the Q collar. The Q collar is basically now legal for basketball. Okay, so if anyone has a Q collar, okay, it's permissible to wear it. All right, the National Federation has approved it. Next one. And this is basically for any ADs that are on the call. If you're going to wear the beginning with this season, if you're going to wear the gray, it's got to be in that seven for a excuse me. If you're going to use it as a home uniform, it's got to be in that 70% area. Okay. So that's important just to go over that. A lot of times officials, we don't get into that, but just remember for review, the home team wears light, okay, and the visitors wear dark, because in the NCAA rules different. The home team wears white and the visitors wear dark. Okay. All right, let's go over signals. Let's go to the next one. Okay, when you're refereeing your games, you know, what your state wants you to do that. Okay, what your state wants you to do that. And so, you know, again, stop your clock. I mean, yesterday I was at the board 12 meeting. I said, hey, what are the 3 signals to stop the clock? And everyone was, I said, and I give door prizes, and they were going foul, violation, jump ball. And I go, you're wrong. And they go, yeah, I'm right. I go, now next. So I said, no, it's foul. And finally someone says it's foul, violation, held ball. Because on a held ball now we stop the clock, right? Before we just used to do that. So you know, you use proper signals. When you are reporting your fouls, have someone film you. Like when your numbers, they actually should be near your, see where my eyebrow is, that's where my numbers are. And you're popping them like blue, 1-4, you pop it. It's a pop, poop, pop. And that's the way you're going to look good. You know, it's a pop. You know, also too, when you give your signal, okay, my numbers go with my eyebrow, my signal stays at a window. Hit, hold, push, whatever, okay? But I'm staying at a window. Numbers, eyebrow. It's just going to make me look a lot more precise, okay? In your state, you probably come to a complete stop when you report your foul, and that's fine. So perfect your cadence when you do that, and you know, hustle over there, blue, 14, hit, 2 shots, and so on, and practice it, and then have someone critique you on it when you're doing that. Let's go to the next one. Okay, and here we go. Stop the clock using the proper signal for violation and foul. We did the foul, but violation, we have gotten away from this. From a violation, there's 4 parts. You stop the clock, you give the nature of the violation, you point spot of in the spot where you're going to take the ball out. Stop the clock, nature of the act, point, and then the spot where it's going to be taken out. And I wouldn't say spot, I would say out of bounds, because there's nothing in the rule book that says spot. There's designated spot, but it's out of bounds. Okay. Also, too, every time you have a violation, you have to have good dead ball officiating. So here's a good drill. You have 4 officials put up cards, playing cards, right? And you call a travel. Okay, and then you pick up the cards. Okay, 5, 3, 2, 1. You can do it with any type of card you want. It doesn't have to be a plain card. It could be a flash card. Okay, it's also out of bounds. Okay, I'm watching. I did see if you notice. I know I'm sitting in a chair, but I'm not turning my back. I'm watching what's in front of me. I'm not looking at the ground. I'm not looking at my hand. You know. There's another good drill is you have 2 someone in front of you and someone behind you, and it's just a drill. They flash cards, so you go white, or let's say it's a 5 of hearts, and so you go red, okay, and then you pivot and you do it, and this helps your footwork. Then it's red again, you know. Red, you know, and you could do it left-handed, right-handed, but the key is you're finding something to watch so you have good dead ball officiating. Bernard, does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
So when you have a travel call, most officials at all levels are turning their back. Don't turn your back. Because a lot of times you turn your back and you call travel, the player, what did the official call? And then you don't have good dead ball officiating. And I've heard officials on my board go, what's an NBA mechanic? It's not an NBA mechanic. It's not a mechanic anywhere. So think about it. You have to watch all the players at all times in any sport. So when the ball's dead, become alive, okay? Foul, we went over that. It's very important to know your throwing spots. You have to know them. Remember, it's mathematically impossible to take a 3-second violation out on the sideline. It's mathematically impossible, okay? Because a 3-second violation is in the lane. So there's no way you could take it out on the sideline in amateur basketball. There's no way, okay? Because it's the spot of the violation. And it's very important for teams, especially after a timeout, you know, where you're putting the ball in play, okay? And the reason NCAA switched it because it was so inconsistent, okay? But it's not hard. It just takes discipline. It takes an official to be detail-oriented. It's one of the reasons why NCAA changed it, because there was a lot of inconsistency where officials were putting the ball in play. Okay, let's move to the next one. Okay, so there it is again. You know, good mechanics there. When you call your travel, right, everybody, don't give 5 or 6 rotations, just 3. Because when it gets 5 or 6, you're starting to irritate players, fans, coaches, and whatever. Even the player goes, okay, I get it, I traveled. You know, but it's just point, practice right and left. Practice it on the lead, practice it in the center, practice in a trail. Practice when you do it, you turn. Practice your turn. Do my turns look sharp or do they look awkward? You know, or hey, if I want to look good, I have to do it left-handed. Did you ever think about that? You know, and so on, because the more precise you are with your signals at any level, you're going to get accepted. You're going to, oh, that's a competent referee. They really know what they're doing. Okay. Try not to point. The federation game, we don't point. It's, you know, and when you point, there's 2 theories. You can point straight or you can give a little high of a point. That's just individual preference. You just have to see how you look on tape when you do it. But you see this sequence of this official here? Nice. Stop clock, 2 or 3 points, spot of the violation. Okay, that's what you got to practice. We all have to practice it. And then you get the playing cards. You can pretend the playing cards are players. You can pretend playing cards are clocks. Like you go, stop the clock, point, 5's on the clock, 6 is on the clock, you know, and so on. Just so I start creating clock awareness. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, let's talk about timeouts. So timeouts for review. We know that number one, we get 360 timeouts and 230s. We know if we take an excessive timeout, it's a technical foul. It's an administrative technical foul. And just remember, everybody, it's not charged to the head coach an excessive timeout. Repeat, it's not charged to the head coach. It's just an administrative technical foul. We also know an excessive timeout is a 2-shot technical foul, okay? Any player or substitute can shoot and the ball's taken at the division line away from the table. Okay, for a timeout, okay, during a dead ball, either team may be granted a timeout. During a live ball, someone on that team must be in player control, not team control. Player control and team control are synonymous, but they're not. For example, If I'm dribbling the ball, I'm in player control. If I'm holding the ball, I'm in player control. If I'm A1 and I pass the ball and the pass is in flight, I'm not in player control, but I'm still in team control. If my dribble is interrupted, I'm not in player control, but I'm still in team control. So this has a lot, player control, team control, rule 4, section 12, has a lot to do with our game, okay? It has to do with timeouts, it has to do with player control fouls, team control fouls, it has to do with backcourt, and so on. Now, can head coaches call a timeout? I know we know this. Yes, they can. But someone on their team has to be in player control when the ball's live. Okay? When the ball's dead, okay, either team may be granted a timeout. All right. Make sure that the head coach is requesting it. So let's look at this logically, everybody. If it's a 3-person game and I'm the trail and the coaches are to the back of me, talk about this in pregame. Okay, I might not know. So the official away from the table has the best picturesque view of the coaches, and he or she can see them calling a timeout. Does that make sense? You know, say, you know, be aware, get ready for these timeouts. If you start perfecting your basketball IQ, you'll know when they want a timeout, because you'll just go, you know, there might be a long run, someone gets outscored upon 8-0. You might want to take a look over there, not that you're calling it, but just to be, hey, they might be want to take a timeout. Okay, things like that, you know, and if you miss it, just say, have a journal and say, you know, there's a situation, I have to have a better basketball IQ. Because see, basketball officials, we always talk about rules and mechanics, but we never talk about basketball IQ. We never talk about it. And it's so important. It's so important. Basketball IQ is so important, because all 3 of them you have to have. You have to know, you have to have rule knowledge, you have to have mechanics knowledge, and you have to have IQ knowledge. And guess what? The IQ knowledge you can never master, because it's always going to change, because the game always changes. So that's why you have to keep the journal. Okay. So let's go to the next one. Okay. And we just basically went over this, you know, player control and team control. You know, remember when players are going for the ball, like if I'm dribbling the ball and the ball gets away from me, I'm still in team control, but I'm not in player control. Okay, so I can't call a timeout because I'm not in player control. Okay, so you just have to be ready for that. Okay, also when the ball's loose, don't let the players jump on everybody. Okay, don't let the players jump on everybody and create a lot of rough play. Those are fouls. Okay, just something to be aware of. All right. We basically went over this. And you see, here's a situation at the end. Officials should also be aware of situations where timeouts are more likely to be requested. For example, end of the period, game, or a team has made several baskets in a row. I know Vince Shipman put on, hey, after a made free throw, you know, either team could be granted a timeout. Yeah, nice job, Vince. You're thinking very good. But yeah, here's one, everybody. You know, remember, when a throw-in starts, okay? When a throw-in starts, the throw-in team may be granted a timeout, but the opponents may not be granted a timeout, okay? All right? Remember, there's no successive timeouts at the end of regulation of play or at the expiration of any overtime period. So timeouts is an awareness rule. Okay, you have to be aware, you have to have an IQ, you have to be aware, you have to know the administrations. It's also part of penalties. Okay, it's also part of penalties. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so here's a situation. You see, now when I look at pictures, I go, okay, first thing I look at is the official. Look at the official. Okay, posture's not good. Do you practice your posture? Okay, so realistically, when you're in the troll in the center, get out of that stance. Get more staggered. Okay, you're engaged, you're ready, you're balanced. You'll have sharper eyes. Okay, you'll have better peripheral vision. Can they have a timeout in this scenario? Well, they're saying the ball is loose. They're not in player control. They can't have it. Let's say you call it. You have to live with it. Okay. All right. Okay. So you have to be. So here's the scenario: was a trap, and you really can't see the offender. Okay. So you might want to let your off official, if it's a 3-person game, help you with that. Okay. Don't take timeouts for granted. Make sure you talk about them in your pregame. By the way, a good pregame before a game should last 45 minutes to an hour. Okay. If you're doing 15-minute pregames, you might want to make them a little bit longer. All right. Because it should be, because it's just going to make your basketball IQ, rules knowledge, game awareness, just going to make it sharper, sharper, and sharper. And if you don't know how to do a pregame, start with 15 minutes and then just start moving. Okay. Because think about it. If the better your pregame is and the longer it is, the more prepared you're going to be. It's like getting reps before batting practice. You're getting your reps. Very, very important. Just my opinion. All right, let's move on. Okay, let's talk about this. This is very, very, very important. Okay, veteran officials. Okay, if we don't start penalizing in sporting conduct, okay, younger people, they're not going to want to go get involved in officiating. I'll give you an example. I was watching a men's rec game this Sunday, and a couple of the players asked me about some rules. Okay, and we know there's a shortage on the referees. Okay, I know in Board 12 we're going to have a big shortage this year. We might have all our members on certain days, we might have to work 3 games. Okay, and we're on a recruiting thing. But so I asked 2 of the players there, and they were in their 20s, said, why don't you get involved in officiating? They said, Mr. Batista, are you crazy? Are you nuts? And they go, why? And they go, because you just take all this abuse. Okay. So and this has stemmed, in my opinion, it's our fault. Okay. A coach throws the jacket in the stands. I didn't see them. Really? A coach said, you'll never be back here again. Did you do anything? No. Okay, you have to do something. You cannot have the intangible of avoidance. You also have to have poise when you call your technical fouls. Okay, when you call your technical fouls, do not break your fingers. Okay, all right. I mean, I used to have that problem. Don't point at anyone. If you have a bad problem of pointing, point to the floor. Some games you might have to use warnings. Use your warnings. It's in our toolbox. But to completely ignore it, you can't do that. You cannot do that. Okay, and remember, technical fouls are 2 shots, ball to the division line away from the table. Any player or sub can shoot, we know that. Can A1 shoot the first and A2 shoot the second? The answer is yes in National Federation. The answer is no in NCAA. Okay, so that is very, very important. Okay, as Bennett Salvatore always says, if you permit unsporting conduct, you are promoting it. If you have fans the fans, if they pay to come in, they do not have the right to abuse you. Okay. All right. There's a shortage of referees. I mean, we're doing it because we love the game. I don't care the level. We love the game. And high school basketball is not easy to officiate. It's very difficult to officiate. All right. And high school officials can referee, by the way. I mean, I go to a lot of clinics, they're high school referees and said, yeah, they're the most detail-oriented officials in the country. And they go, really? Yeah, because they don't have replay and they don't have certain things. And they don't have sometimes great conditions on the end line. Okay. And they have to adjust in certain scenarios. So there's nothing wrong with refereeing high school basketball. It's a it's a great craft. Okay. And I applaud everybody who's on here. I'm just not saying this, that referees high school basketball, because it's very, very important. But if we do not start penalizing on sporting conduct, a lot of young people, they're not going to say, I don't want to do that or whatever, or someone's going to be in it for 3 years and they're going to get discouraged and the guy, I'm not doing this anymore. And believe me, if you do it, if you start penalizing, and maybe sometimes your signer won't support you, but you're helping the game. It will benefit you down your career. It really will, because sooner or later they're going to say, I better put Al Batista in that game and Bernard in that game, because I know that game there won't be the game will not, they won't lose control of that game. And by the way, there's a difference of managing a game and controlling the game. They're two different things. Managing the game, I know my subs, I know my clocks and so on. Controlling the game, I better not miss certain plays. I better penalize here and there so we don't lose control of the game. They're two absolutely different things, and everyone puts them together. They're not synonymous. You know, it's like comparing apples and oranges. Okay. And practice, if you have, practice your technical foul, because we don't practice our technical foul. We show emotion and so on. Try to have a calm face, try and blow your whistle, technical foul. Okay. Easier said than done. Let's go to the next one. Okay, this is what I just said. Remember, the Federation game is an extension of the classroom. Okay. If I remember years ago, I was refereeing a game. I'll tell you a quick story. I was refereeing a game, and a coach was on the floor, and he was yelling at his players. And he started yelling at me, and I said, "Coach, please go to your coaching box." And he says, "I do what I want when I coach." I said, "Okay, no problem. Technical foul. No big deal." Later on in the game, I had a charge call, and he waved me off. And I called, "Okay, that's your second technical foul. You have to leave." And he said, "Well, what's your problem?" I said, "I don't have a problem, but in 30 seconds you will, because this game will be over." Boom. So after that, one player came up to me and goes, "Sir, can I get you water, whatever?" But it just went like it, and everyone just stopped in the arena, just stopped. After the game, the AD came up to me in the locker room, and he said, "Why did you throw that coach out?" And I said, "Are you an educator?" He said, "Yes." I said, "You teach in a classroom?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Would you let anyone do this to you in a classroom?" He said, "Absolutely not." I go, "That's why I threw him out." Okay. So that's what you have to do. But it's not being you're not wired. You're the guardian of the game. Okay. We're the guardians of the game. Another scenario, one night I was refereeing at West Liberty with Mike Millian. I told this story on a podcast. and an official, a coach chased a partner down the floor, and it was a young man who was refereeing, and he got a little bit, he got a little bit scared. I understand that. We all been there. And then he came after me, and I said, technical foul. And he said, for what? So at halftime, he's in the runway, and he said, why did I get a technical foul? I wasn't out of the coaching box. I said, you're correct. He said, I didn't curse at you. I said, you're 2 for 2. He goes, well, why did I get a technical foul? I said, would you charge anybody on a street? And would you just go up and charge someone aggressively? He said, I understand why I got a technical foul. After the game, he won the game, and I was walking out of the arena. He goes, Mr. Batista, you made me a better coach tonight because I had to coach. And it's not going to always work that way, but believe me, if you can run a game, they might not like you, but they will respect you. And that's very, very important, because see, the game's about the players, and we're setting an example, okay? There's a difference of anything you hear, technical foul, no, that's not good. I'm saying on sporting conduct, intimidating conduct, whatever, where someone is aggressively coming at you for no reason, or they're trying to intimidate for your call, you have to handle that. Okay, let's move on. Sorry, Bernard, for going that, but sporting conduct's is a big thing with me. Say, here's one, okay, and this is happening a lot, okay? Officials really running hard the whole game, and and they're just getting abused. Don't go to that fan, go to game management and listen, and then if they don't do anything game management, okay, then go to your signer or whoever. If you're a signer, you might have to go to the state, say, listen, this is not good, okay? Okay, remember, you're there, we're guardians of the game, okay? And we deserve respect. We're guardians of the game. If we're not there, guess what? They cannot play the game. Regardless of how bad they think we are in this, that. If we're not there, they can't play. All right? So we do a great job, and we belong to IAABO. We belong to a phenomenal organization. And so just think that when you call your technical fouls, and it's not being abrasive or obnoxious. Hey, I deserve respect. Okay, next one. Okay, let's talk about screening. Okay, screening is a twofold rule. Okay, there's stationary screens and there's moving screens. Usually it's a 2 officiating play. So, for example, if I set up within my visual field the screen, okay, I can get close as I want to my opponent short of contact. If I'm outside my visual field, I must give my opponent 1 normal step backward, okay? If my opponent is moving, then time and distance is relevant, 1 to 2 strides, depending upon the speed and movement of the player being screened. Now, with that, you're going to be refereeing a 2-on-2 game or a 3-on-3 game. This is why you have to get in the stagger stance. It's going to make your eyes quicker. You can see more, okay? You can see more. If you remember those 3 things, you're going to do well with the screen. Visual field, outside the visual field, opponents that are moving. Next thing, one rule we don't have in the Federation game, but use it. If the screen is too wide and the defender runs into the leg of the screener, you have a team control foul. If the defender runs into the chest of the screener and knocks them down, you have a defensive foul, okay? That's just a little guideline, just a guideline, okay? Just remember that. All right, now, most of our game is being played on the perimeter. All basketball is played on the perimeter. You can count the post plays in your game. If they go over the screen, the the defender, okay, that screener, okay, that screener now is maybe not a screener. They're now more of a cutter. That's just a guideline. If they go under it and then they start moving, they could be guilty of illegal screening. Just watch that play. Watch screens and warm-ups. You say, oh, where they commit illegal screens. I remember refereeing a game one time at line combing, and my partner said, Al, watch this. Every screen's illegal. I said, well, they probably won't do it in game. And they did. And we were ready for it. Okay. So it's a two official play too, usually lead and trill, or if it's going diagonally, see and trill. Okay. All right. A lot of times the lead's got to get those illegal back screens. All right. And there's a lot more to it. This is just a little synopsis potpourri of screening. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, we just went over this. Okay. Remember the big thing, you can't use your arms, hands, or hips to extend. A defender just can't knock a screener over. You know all these things, but again, if you don't referee a 2-1-2, 3-on-3, if you don't lift your eyes, you'll have problems with these plays. Talk about these plays in pregame. They're two official plays. If you have an illegal screen for review, stop the clock, hand behind the head, point, spot of the foul. Next. Okay, we went over this, all right? Within the visual field, short of contact. Outside the visual field, one normal step backward. And if your opponent is moving 1 to 2 strides, depending upon the speed and movement of your opponent. So it's a twofold rule. Okay, next. And we went over this as well. And next. All right, here's a scenario, so here we go. We got a 1-on-2 game, okay? And again, a 2-on-1 game. Say there's the visual one to your left, closer to you want, short of contact, and to the one to your right, outside the visual field, and number 5 gives number 4 1 normal step backwards. Okay, so let's say you're the trill in this scenario. You can't be behind 3. You got to be down where you can see 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so if you look at both of these plays, you're going to be refereeing 70% defense and 30% offense because the player's dribbling and attacking. If they were holding, you would go 70% offense, 30% defense, and you're still lifting your eyes and all this. You can't have tunnel vision to referee these plays. And let's move on to the next one. All right, let's talk about Euro steps, spin moves, jump stops, illegal. Just remember, FIBA and the NBA have a different rule than ours, okay? So if I'm dribbling the ball and I step to my left, I end my dribble, I step my left, that's my pivot. I step to my right, the Euro step, and then I just go up, and then the ball must leave my hand before that pivot foot returns to the floor, okay? All right, so let's go to the next one. We can just get a better look at it. Okay, and you can read this. I'm going to have you guys just do this. Just remember, the ball must leave your hand before your pivot foot leaves the floor to start a dribble. On a pass or try, the ball must, you can lift your pivot foot, but the ball must leave your hand before your pivot foot returns to the floor. Again, for a dribble, the ball must leave your hand before the pivot foot leaves the floor. For a pass or try, the ball must leave your hand before the pivot foot returns to the floor. So let's just talk about this. So anytime someone catches the ball on the perimeter, okay, you're going to sequence your eyes like this: feet, pivot, release, and that's legal, I'm going to the hands of the defender. If it's not legal, then I have a travel. Okay, feet, pivot, release, legal. Then I go to the defender. So I'm starting out 70% offense, 30% defense. Once it's legal, I go 70% defense, 30% offense. Now, if they use the Euro step, I go step, Euro, step, Euro, we're still legal. And if they step again, I got travel. So so we'll say for this, okay, left, right, okay, they must go up. So it's left, right, they must go up. Left, right, or it could be right, left, and they must go up. If it's left, right, left, and that's illegal. And that will help you if you start sequencing. If you're not sure, pass. You're probably right. Or you say, boy, that's a travel, and okay, I'll keep a journal, I'll look at it on tape, I'll get better, and so on. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, and this is really not a good illustration of it, but that's the idea. Again, 70-30. Okay, and a lot of times the trill's got for illegal footwork, the trill's got, or the center's got to come and get these plays because the lead naturally officiates from waist off. And the lead in today's game, the lead, their most important thing of the lead today is to referee secondary defenders, unless you have a one-on-one play. A lot of times the lead can referee spin travels. Okay, let's go to the next one. All right, so let's go. I'm going to read the spin move because everyone has trouble with the spin move. All levels we have trouble with the spin move. Okay. What is often referred to as a spin move most often occurs when a player who dribbles toward the basket catches the ball by faking one side of the basket, plants a foot, that becomes the pivot foot, while facing the basket, turns his back to the basket and attempts to spin around a defender, then steps with the other foot. This would be legal, but most often when the player's back is the basket during the spin to again face the basket and get into position to release the ball in the try, the player must step again. This means the player's pivot foot returns the floor a second time, thus causing a violation. Now, anytime a play is going away from you, don't get involved. You have no view. So a play's got to be coming to you to get this play right, especially on curls. That's when times the illegal spin move is used. Okay. So I'll give you an example. Let's go to the next one. And this is a good one. Example, A1 is dribbling toward the basket from the left side. Defender B1 is facing A1 when A1 catches the ball and steps with the left foot while faking to the left, then spins back to the basket. Steps with the right foot while spinning, and then steps with the left foot again when beginning the spin move. A1's left foot became the pivot foot, and after the spin, when the left foot again touches the floor, A1 has violated. This type of play could originate from in front of the basket or from either side. Due to this player attempting a spin move and the physical difficulty of facing the basket when one foot touches the floor, then attempting to spin around a defender, release the ball before the pivot foot again touches the floor, the vast majority of the times, spin moves attempts are illegal. They're not always illegal, but a lot of times, the vast majority of the time, but make sure that you see it, okay? If it's going away from you, I would recommend you leave it alone. If it's coming to you, be ready. You got to find that pivot foot. So that first step's the pivot. They can step good, just like the Euro step. The other foot that they first stepped, if it comes down on the floor again, that's a travel, okay? And remember, stop the clock, 2 or 3, point, keep your eyes on all the players. Let's go to the next one. Okay. All right, so you see the pivot foot, there's a step, and then he steps again, and there's your travel. Okay, a lot of times go over this in pregame and say, listen, trill or center or trill, help with travels in the lane and on crossing plays and curl plays. Help the lead out on these plays, and the lead should be saying, you got to help me with these plays. You got to help me with these plays because I am refereeing secondary defenders. Okay, unless you have a one-on-one play that you see it. So just talk about that. Let's go to the next one. Okay, jump stop. Okay, so if I'm dribbling the ball. If I'm dribbling the ball and I end my dribble on 1 foot, I may jump to 2 simultaneously. Okay, perfectly legal, but I have no pivot foot. Okay. All right, and the ball must leave my hand before either foot leaves the floor when I start a dribble. Okay. If I pick up 1 foot, the ball must leave my hand before either foot returns to the floor. So what is often referred to as a jump stop is by rule an exception to the traveling rules. A legal jump stop occurs when a player who catches the ball with both feet on the floor, lands on 1 foot, jumps off that foot, and lands with both feet touching the floor simultaneously. Many players are taught well and successfully execute legal jump stops. There are 2 situations that most often cause attempts at legal jump stops to become illegal. The first, after the player jumps off 1 foot, they land on 1 foot followed by the other, a legal stutter stop, instead of landing simultaneously in both feet, legal. Okay, so you have to see the whole play. Again, trill and center help with these plays. Okay, if you don't see the whole play, don't guess. Okay, let's go to the next one. The second, after a player completes the legal jump stop, the player pivots. A legal jump stop is already an exception to the travel rule, and any player who pivots with either foot after a jump stop is completed gains a huge advantage and has committed a traveling violation. Landing on both feet under NFHS rules, the player violates when the pivot foot touches the floor a second time. Okay. And all of us just have to study this play and see it and go over it. And some days you're going to be really good at it, and some days you're going to have problems with it. But if you referee 70 when someone catches the ball and you go 70-30, you're going to get a lot of these plays. 70% offense, 30% defense. Once that's legal, then you switch your eyes again. Okay, you're going to get really good. So let's go to some fundamentals. So here's your drill, everybody. When you're watching a game on television, every time there's a catch, just go, okay, feet, pivot, release, they're legal. Feet, pivot, release, defense. Feet, just do it for a whole quarter. Okay, catch, feet, pivot, release, they're legal. Feet, pivot, oh, they travel. And sometimes the official might miss on television, and then you can call it. And that way you're going to get good at it. Okay, so when beginning a dribble, okay, let's go to the next one, Ralph. I'm sorry. When beginning a dribble, let's go to the next one after that. When beginning a dribble, a player must release the ball before lifting his or her pivot foot. A player who lifts the pivot foot before releasing the ball to begin a dribble has committed a traveling violation. We went over that. Back to our 70-30. So also too, if I catch the ball on the perimeter and I step with my right and step with my right, my left's the pivot. If I catch the ball on the perimeter and I step with my left and I step with my left, my right's the pivot. Okay. The Euro step, I step, that's my pivot. I step, okay. I got to release. On the spin move, okay, I end my dribble, I step, that's my pivot. I step, then I got to release. So if you start sequencing like that, and self-talk's going to help you with these as well. Okay, it's always legal for a player to lift the pivot foot, but the player must pass, shoot, or be granted a timeout before the pivot foot touches the floor again. It is not possible for a player to travel while dribbling the ball or bouncing the ball out of bounds during throwing or, okay, all right, or prior to attempting free throws. So if you're dribbling the ball and you violate, that's palming, or it could be a double dribble, okay? So let's go to the next one. So we're really talking about this a lot. So the key is make sure you sequence. Secondly, if you're not sure, pass. Third of all, if it looks awkward, that doesn't mean it's illegal. And fourth, study moves and warm-ups, go back to tape, watch plays, do a drill when you're watching games on television, catch, go feet, pivot, release, we're legal. Okay, feet, pivot, release, we're legal. Start doing that and you'll get better, and you'll get better, and you'll get better, and you get better, okay? All right, and I think, Ralph, that is it. Bernard, that is it. I'm sorry to go so long with unsporting conduct, but it's just a big thing with me. I don't like to see officials get harassed or really, I just very get upset about it, and we can do something to promote officiating by, I think, if we enforce unsporting conduct. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Al. We appreciate you. You did have a couple of questions. Can a player call timeout, play out of bounds?
So what was this now?
Can a player call a timeout, play out of bounds?
So
Benitez,
so if a player's out of bounds, can they call a timeout? The answer is yes, as long as someone on their team is in player control.
great. The other question that was in there, what does it look like to loaf your eyes?
To lift your eyes.
They said loaf, but I guess it's lift.
Okay, so lifting your eyes, everybody, I'm sure you actually do it when you drive. Because if you didn't do it when you drive, you would crash into somebody, you know, if you're on 95. So lifting your eyes is like you're looking at exit signs, you're looking to your left, you're looking to your right. When you're in the grocery store, when you go down the aisle, you're looking to your right or left, that's lifting your eyes. Okay, when you're on the subway, like, you know, you're looking on your left, they're, you know, on the DC, they're coming down, on the other side, they're going up. So I'm looking at that, and that's how I lift my eyes. I just don't look straight ahead.
Awesome.
So
Thank
and just
you for that.
and that's a great question, because you can practice that. You can practice that. If I'm walking down the street, I'll practice lifting my eyes by looking ahead. If I'm running on a track, you know, I'm just not running, but I'm looking at things around me, and actually I'm speeding my eyes up. And if you do it and you think about it, it will speed your officiating up, because you see, lifting your eyes is about play calling, and play calling is like hitting a fastball. And if you can hit the 90s and the 95s, you're going to do well. But if you don't train for it, you know, it's going to be hard.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate you so much, Al, for spending some time with us. I know Mike and Victor and the whole board really appreciate
I know
you.
I do it a little bit different. I give more teaching points, you know, by just instead of doing the rules. So I hope I didn't confuse anybody.
No, we will actually be posting it on our website. So it will be out there, and we thank you for all your information.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank
A little
you.
bit of house clean. Yes, sir. A little bit of house cleaning that we need to understand. Professionally, we're all here as officials of Board 42. I ask everyone to show a little professionalism and respect for those who are on, to mute your phone when you come on in the evening. When we do our sessions, we come on, please put your phone on mute. We very much appreciate that. Just to let you know, we had up to about 135 members on. We have members of about 250. it's important to understand what's going on inside the refereeing community. It's not just saying, I got my certification, I'm just gonna go out and officiate and expect to get games. So please let your members or your other members know to at least join when we actually are having these meetings. Information is posted on our website. We do have a website, it's board42.com, www.board42.com. A lot of folks do not have their name up. We need everyone to go in the chat, put your name in the chat. If you have an iPad that you have a different name, or you just have numbers attached to who you are, please sign your name into the chat so we can take attendance. We'd appreciate that. I'm gonna ask Vic to come on before we close out. Vic, are you there?
Yes, I am, Bernard.
Yes,
So
please, would you say a few words?
just a few. So first thing I want to thank for everybody for participating in our Zoom interpretation. And Bernard stole my thunder in reference to the website, but it's important because we will be giving all our new information and requirements on the website. So please take a minute just to look at the website at least once a week. The refresher exam is due, and write this down, November 30th. They could send it to the PO box, and the PO box is on the website. And everybody needs to know that returning the refresher exam is mandatory. Please get in the book, look at the questions. If you have any questions, send an email to me or Bernard, and we will try to help you out to get the answer. And again, I want to thank everybody for attending our interpretation meeting. And Bernard, that's about it. Everybody have a good evening. It's not over. Bernard, it's back to you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you and all that you do, Vic. Mike will be closing us out, but let me just say, we will be giving out the books again this week between the hours of 11 o'clock and 12:30 up at the Kips Bay Boys Club up in Throsneck, not Castle Hill, up in Throsneck from 11 to 12:30. Okay. Also, dues are due, so please get your dues in. You can pay when you come up to pick up your book if you haven't picked it up. If you already have it, great. If you have not received it, we expect everyone to please come up and pick up your book. We want to make sure that everybody has their book in their card. Are there any
Bernard,
questions?
please,
Yes.
we're not taking cash, so please, either money order or a check, no cash.
Thank you. Are there any questions that someone would like to unmute themselves? And if we do it politely and patiently, I'll be happy to answer those questions or have someone answer them before we have Mike close out.
Yes.
Go ahead.
All right. This is Juan Bryant, by the way.
How
I
you
will
doing?
be fine. Good evening. I will be unable. Is there a way I can find an alternate date or time to pick up my book, pay my dues, and my card? I will not be able to attend this Saturday.
Absolutely, that can be taken care of. You can either just email myself or Victor, preferably Victor, because he's handling all the treasury information and he also has the books. So he should be able to go ahead and handle that for you in a timely manner. Just send him an email, set up a time, and I know he'll be happy to accommodate you.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Bernard,
Thank
this
you.
is Herrera. Bernard, this is Herrera.
Excuse me,
Anthony. Hello?
How you doing, Anthony?
this is Rick.
Good, good. What about Zelle? Can we Zelle the dues in?
Absolutely, you can.
Okay.
It can be Zelle too. If we'll put up the Zelle information, it's v.fleming@verizon.net. That is not to Victor Fleming's personal account. That is going directly into Board 42's account.
Okay.
Okay, so let's make sure that everybody's totally aware of that. We just put it in the chat. It's v.fleming@verizon.net, and you can pay via Zelle.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Benitez,
Pastor,
a question to you.
Pastor,
This is Richard Benitez. A question to you is, the first 50 answers or questions, because I just got up and I was not able to get away.
you faded out, Rick.
Hello?
Say it again. Go ahead. You
Okay,
faded
I
out.
was on the job. And I kind of a little bit kind of late because I was not able to. I was wondering about the refresher questions. Were they are giving out the first 50 or whatever how it goes? Are we still doing that?
Victor's actually handling that end of it. You can actually email him your question regarding anything with the refresher test.
Okay, no problem. Follow.
Thank you, sir. Freddie Menendez, did you have something you want to say? Okay. With that being said, does anyone else have anything to say before we give it to Mike to close us out? First and foremost,
Me.
oh,
How
yes.
many
Hey, Ron.
How many questions on the exam are we due to answer?
All
50
of
or
them.
You're supposed to answer all the questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. I personally thank you all. Again, we will try when we have meetings via Zoom. We hope to get back in person shortly. But while we're on Zoom, I cannot overemphasize the fact that we get here on time. It's just like a game. If you get assigned a game and you wind up being late and you look at that, call that assigner and give offer an action looking for another game and he don't give you one, that's almost the same way of handling your business in a professional way. You have a meeting, you have a responsibility. If you can't make it, I think it's fine just to send a text or an email and just say, I'm unable to make it to this meeting. And I think we'll be happy to know because we have 250 plus members and we're only getting 132 to 135 onto a Zoom session. I think it's very unprofessional. So I think for all of us to work together to build the organization the way that we want it to be, we all have to reach out to those who are not here and ask them to please participate when we do send out emails. We do have everything out there on the website. We do send them out electronically via emails. So we're all one organization. We're all one board and we want the best for everyone. So we need everybody's support to make this all work. With that being said, Mike Howard, would you close us out, press?
Okay, let me start out by saying this. Al Batista's presentation was a step above. I think he brought us into reality that those of us who don't know it, there is some sophistication to refereeing this game. We just don't go out there, put a shirt on, blow a whistle. A simple thing that he mentioned, when you make a walking call and you turn your back to the players, you call an out of bounds play on an inline and turn your back to the players, you're missing something. So this is one of the things that he talked about, that when we go to the States, you got a table full of people sitting there watching your every move. And we must be uniform by using the uniform signals. After we make a call, run over to the table and then jog back to our spot. These little things that we do, I think a guy years ago at Hoop Mountain called it community ball referee. But when you get up to the States, if you practice these good habits in your high school game, you'll be ready when you get to the States or you get to a high school playoff game, because not everybody's sitting there watching you. So I thank you, Al, for taking us to that point. A simple thing, timeout. How many times team control and the referee calls a timeout? The ball is loose, yeah, team control, and you get a whistle timeout and the defensive player picks up the ball and steal the ball. Now you sit there, well, no, it's wrong. Out of 200 plus members, 130 something, the ones who are missing, those are the ones who's going to make that mistake. So get a hold of your buddy, get a hold of your friend, and tell them how vital this stuff is, because if you get a shot and you get up there, it doesn't help our board at all if we don't look good at it. With that being said, I think it's very important that we be safe, be well, read your rule book, and I don't mean just read the new rules. Read over your rule book. And I thank those who was here tonight. Thank you very much for your participation. Al Batista, thank you very much. Victor Flemings, thank you very much. Bernard, thank you very much. And to all Board 42 members, be safe, be well. Thank you again.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Have a safe one.
Good night, sir.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Yo, good
Good night,
night.
good night. Thank you.